Hey everyone, something huge is happening in 2025 and it's slipping under the radar. America's mighty factories are quietly moving to Canada. Shocking, right? Stick around to find out why. US manufacturing is facing a crisis. Labor costs have spiked 20% since 2020, and experts predict a shortage of 1.5 million skilled workers by 2030. Unstable policies aren't helping either. Meanwhile, Canada's offering a sweet deal. Corporate taxes 15% lower than the US, plus tax breaks and a stable business vibe. Their workforce? Over 90% finish high school, making it super skilled. From appliances to textiles, industries are crossing the border, impacting jobs and towns. Which 10 US states are losing the most factories? You'll be surprised. Is your state on the list? Watch till the end to find out. A temporary move or a global power shift? Share your thoughts below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell for more eye-opening updates. Number 1. Pennsylvania. Imagine a state that powered America's industrial might, now watching its factories vanish. Pennsylvania, from Pittsburgh's steel roots to Allentown's bustling plants, is losing ground fast. In 2025, precision parts manufacturers are crossing the border to Ontario and British Columbia. A major robotics components company in Erie closed its doors in March 2025, only to reopen a gleaming new facility near Toronto by May. Why? Canada offers lower corporate taxes, 26% compared to Pennsylvania's 35%, streamlined environmental permitting, approvals in 6 months versus 18 in Pennsylvania, and hefty green manufacturing subsidies, covering up to 40% of setup costs. The Pennsylvania Manufacturers Association reports a staggering 7,500 manufacturing jobs lost in the first 6 months of 2025, with 33% shifting to Canada. Beyond factories, innovation is slipping away. Canada's $2 billion EV and AI hardware incentives are pulling research hubs north. Towns like Scranton and Reading feel the sting as 3 generations of workers face shuttered plants, their legacy fading to a colder, thriving north. Number 2, Illinois. Illinois, once a mighty hub of steel, automotive, and food industries, is quietly bleeding jobs. In the first half of 2025 alone, over 9,000 manufacturing jobs, representing roughly 15% of the state's manufacturing workforce, disappeared. Shockingly, these jobs aren't heading to far-off Asia but to Canada. A major machinery manufacturer in Rockford announced its relocation to Ontario, citing Canada's 15% lower corporate tax rate, permits processed 30% faster, and green incentives offering up to $2 million in annual savings. Chicago's suburban packaging and bottling plants are downsizing, with 60% of their operations now outsourced to Canadian firms. Even the state's storied food processing industry is shifting. A Peoria-based frozen food company, a 40-year staple, opened a Nova Scotia plant, creating 500 jobs abroad. This exodus isn't just numbers on a chart, it's a gut punch to communities where factories sustained families for decades. Illinois risks losing its clout in North America's manufacturing arena, leaving its future uncertain. Number 3, Wisconsin. Wisconsin's nickname might be America's Dairyland, but its real heartbeat is manufacturing. Think heavy machinery, car parts, and electric vehicle components. Yet, in early 2025, this powerhouse state faced a shocking blow. Major electric vehicle parts suppliers, including a Milwaukee-based giant producing electric drive modules, packed up and moved to Ontario and Quebec. Why? Canada's cheaper electricity and juicy clean energy incentives, offering up to 30% tax breaks for green tech, were too good to resist. This shift hit hard. Wisconsin's Department of Workforce Development reported a 2% to 3.2% drop in manufacturing jobs in first quarter 2025, the worst in the Midwest. Cities like Green Bay and Racine, tied to the region's supply chain, are reeling as production lines reroute through Canada. Meanwhile, Ontario's industrial hubs, like Windsor, are buzzing with new factories and a 15% surge in orders, many snatched from Wisconsin. Without bold action from Washington, like a robust industrial policy, Wisconsin risks becoming a mere transit point, watching its economic lifeblood flow north. What's next for the state's proud manufacturing legacy? Number 4, California. Once the dazzling heart of global tech innovation, famed as Silicon Valley's crown jewel, is quietly crumbling under the weight of a shrinking manufacturing sector. In 2025 alone, the state hemorrhaged 12,000 high-skilled, high-paying manufacturing jobs, roles that anchored communities and fueled local economies. Why? Skyrocketing costs and suffocating regulations are pushing companies to flee. For instance, a San Jose-based EV battery startup recently relocated its entire production to Quebec, lured by 30% cheaper energy and streamlined environmental permits. Electricity in California costs nearly 100% more than in many Canadian provinces, forcing tough choices. In Southern California, Orange County's aerospace suppliers are outsourcing to Alberta and Manitoba, while Fresno and Bakersfield's ag tech firms shift to Canada, for sustainable manufacturing incentives, offering up to 25% cost savings. The ripple effect is brutal. Local suppliers lose 15 to 20% of revenue, logistics firms report 10% fewer orders, and trade schools sit empty. Can California, America's economic powerhouse, reclaim its high-tech manufacturing edge, or is this the start of a steeper decline? Number 5, Ohio. Picture Ohio, a state once pulsing with the heartbeat of American industry, steel mills roaring, rubber plants thriving, and auto parts rolling off assembly lines. It was the pride of U.S. manufacturing. But in 2025, that heartbeat is faltering, and you'll be shocked to learn why. Over 12,500 manufacturing jobs have quietly disappeared from Ohio since January 2025. No protests, no headlines. Why? Companies aren't collapsing, they're fleeing north to Canada. A major Cleveland auto parts supplier, employing 1,200 workers, just shifted its entire operation to Quebec, lured by clean energy incentives, superior logistics, and a business-friendly environment. In Akron, a plastics giant closed 2 plants, laying off 800, to partner with a Canadian firm. Their CEO called it securing the future, a polite way of saying Ohio's too tough to survive in. This isn't just about jobs, it's Ohio losing its soul. Small towns like Lima and Mansfield feel the pain. Trucking firms fold, gas stations empty, and diners struggle. Canada's not stealing, they're winning. Ohio, once America's industrial titan, watches helplessly as its legacy fades. Can it fight back? Number 6, Georgia. Why are major companies abandoning Georgia's booming factories for Canada? Once hailed as America's manufacturing powerhouse, Georgia is facing a surprising shift in 2025 that's raising eyebrows. With Atlanta's logistics hub, Savannah's bustling export port, and cutting-edge factories sprouting in suburbs, Georgia seemed unstoppable, contributing $70 billion annually to the state's economy. Yet, this year alone, over 8,500 manufacturing jobs, nearly 5% of the sector, have vanished. Shockingly, 48% of these losses tied directly to firms relocating to Ontario and British Columbia. For instance, a $2 billion EV battery gigafactory near Savannah halted construction mid-build, only to resurface in Canada, lured by $500 million in clean energy subsidies and permits approved 60% faster. Augusta's logistics hubs report a 12% drop in rail and truck traffic as trade routes tilt north. Canada's edge? Stable policies, robust innovation incentives, and a workforce trained for the future. Georgia's communities now grapple with underfunded schools, a 7% dip in housing prices, and youth outmigration. Can Georgia rewrite its growth story, or will Canada steal the spotlight? Number 7, New York. Imagine a New York beyond the dazzling Broadway lights and Wall Street's financial frenzy. A New York where factories hum with life, crafting everything from cutting-edge electronics to your favorite snacks. Upstate, in cities like Buffalo, Rochester, and Syracuse, this manufacturing heartbeat has powered communities for decades. But here's the shocking truth. It's fading fast. In just 1 year, over 10,000 manufacturing jobs, roughly 8% of the sector's workforce, vanished, with 6,500 tied to electronics, 2,000 to food processing, and 1,500 to green tech. Why? Companies are fleeing to Canada, lured by juicy research incentives and smoother access to European markets. A solar panel giant in Albany, employing 800 workers, packed up its entire production line for Ontario. A beloved soup and sauce brand slashed 33% of its upstate operations, cutting 450 union jobs to relocate to Montreal. High taxes, crumbling infrastructure, and sky-high energy costs are pushing businesses out, leaving Western New York a shadow of its industrial glory. While state leaders chase finance and real estate, this silent crisis, worsened by retail closures and a 5% population drop since 2020, delivers a devastating blow to communities. Will anyone notice before it's too late? Number 8, Indiana. Imagine a state that powers America's cars, machines, and electronics, yet it's quietly losing its edge. Indiana, often overshadowed by Michigan, has long been a manufacturing giant, employing over 17% of its workforce, roughly 530,000 people, in factories producing auto parts, heavy machinery, and tech components. But in 2025, this engine is sputtering. Over the last year, Indiana lost 11,500 manufacturing jobs, with 65% of those cuts hitting auto parts suppliers in Fort Wayne and Evansville. Shockingly, these factories aren't closing, they're relocating to Ontario and Quebec. a major truck chassis maker, a key supplier for Detroit's Big Three, slashed 70% of its Indiana production, moving 1,200 jobs to Windsor, Canada, lured by $100 million in Canadian incentives, including labor subsidies and cheap green energy. Indiana's aging technical training, unprepared for green tech or automation, can't compete. In towns like Kokomo and Lafayette, empty parking lots and early closing coffee shops signal a grim trend. Are families next to follow the jobs north? Canada's bold vision, modern infrastructure, and skilled talent leaves Indiana scrambling to catch up. Number 9, Texas. Texas, the proud Lone Star State, has long stood as a titan of American industry, its vast landscape humming with oil rigs, factories, and innovation. But in 2025, a silent shift is stealing its shine. Factories are packing up, and jobs are slipping north to Canada. Why? Imagine this. Over 9,200 manufacturing jobs vanished in Texas in just 1 year, hitting sectors like auto parts, down 12%, electronics, down 15%, and industrial machinery, down 18%. A Dallas robotics giant, once a beacon of progress, just broke ground in Toronto, lured by Canada's 25% tax credits, skilled immigrant workforce, and easy access to Canadian and European markets. Border cities like Laredo and El Paso are hurting, with export volumes dropping 10% as supply chains pivot north. Texas's shaky power grid and soaring property insurance costs, up 20% since 2023, are scaring businesses away. Meanwhile, Canada offers stability, quick approvals, and a clear climate plan. The real kicker? This isn't just about jobs. Texas's entire industrial core is quietly unraveling, and without swift action, its legacy might soon wear a maple leaf number 10 Michigan. Ever wondered where America's cars were born? Michigan's the answer. Home to Detroit, the legendary hub of the auto world. It's where Henry Ford sparked a revolution, and giants like General Motors and Chrysler built empires. But in 2025, that legacy is fading, not with a bang, but a slow, quiet drift. Over the past 18 months, Michigan lost a staggering 15,000 auto jobs, the worst hit since the 2009 recession. Factories are shutting, assembly lines are silent, and workers are leaving with no replacements in sight. Why? Soaring costs, complex environmental rules, and sluggish policies for electric vehicles are pushing companies away. Meanwhile, Canada's stealing the show with $2 billion in green subsidies, low-interest loans for battery plants, and tailored training programs. Big names like Stellantis, Magna, and Tesla's suppliers are flocking to Ontario, where 70% of new auto investments now land. In Flint, once a thriving truck hub, empty lots grow weeds and families turn to seasonal jobs or leave. Can Michigan reclaim its crown?